Welcome, April and Philip. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. Yours?
Good. I thought it was good, but my daughter who came to class told me she had a horrible Thanksgiving, so I don't know now. Evan got to sleep in more than usual, so that's positive. Yes. I always think that's what I'm going to get to do, but then I can't actually sleep in. I just wake up anyways. I am unmuted. Oh, I didn't put my little light on. Oh, Brianna's here. I miss Brianna. And Becca. Welcome. You guys have a Google form with different questions each day. So make sure that you've done both day 1 and day 2. It's on the glance that I am sharing right now. And then we're going to be going live about your last learning target about burns and wounds and how they heal, but specifically about kind of the differences between first, second, third degree burns and the rule of 9s. Becca, how was your Thanksgiving? I haven't heard from you yet.
Just very uneventful.
Very uneventful. Well, sometimes that's good. That's what I actually commented on that. Our family had said that nobody got drunk or got in fights or were abusive to one another. So, you know, that's a plus. I sure hope not, because it was just 4 of my 5 children.
It's right. Because my mom always works on Thanksgiving, so we'll just do it like some random day of the week.
Nobody did. My daughter's mad at me. Get back to class.
I made you something.
I don't know what that. No, I'm not eating.
Artichoke heart stuffed pepper.
No,
Try it. It's
I'm
good.
in the middle of class. I'm not going to try it. Yeah. Okay. I get very restless around here after the day. All right, welcome. As you guys come in, your Google form attendance is hyperlinked. If I didn't do it already, because I know I've forgotten first, second, and third, so I went and fixed it, I'll put it in the classwork tab as well. I was supposed to, I just don't know if I did in both spots. So click on that, make sure you've answered day 1 and day 2 questions. Then we're gonna go live about burns. So at the top is the targets. So we're going to review the accessory structures. So the hair, nail, and glands. I took your interactive test myself, and some of the hair labels were interesting. So I want to make sure we practice those today. I teach forensic science, and I teach about, I used to teach a chapter on hair, and I'd never heard of the hair bulge. So I'm just going to make sure you guys know where that is and can identify it. And I want to make sure we go over the rule of 9s and kind of talk briefly about that versus the rule of palms, which I think it replaced. And then number 3, which is not in your book, but I really think is kind of the most important part of this chapter when I went through and fixed my curriculum. Go away, all of you. What is wrong with all of you people? I'm going to have to turn off my video if my family does not get out of here. You're all crazy people. Could you go away? I'm in the middle of class. Describe common skin conditions. So I want you to know when you should go to the doctor and when you can just go get an over-the-counter drug like Neosporin versus when you need antibiotics. So we're going to just go through some of the conditions that you will either see on your own body or see in the future on your own body or your children's body. So that's what that last one's about. And the way that we'll do that is a web worksheet on skin conditions. It is going to be, the actual web worksheet is going to be optional. If you are missing homework points or daily work points, that is a worksheet you can do. But we're all going to play a game next live session called Name That Skin Condition. Of course, it's one of the PowerPoints that I made years ago that we play for this chapter. And then you're taking your McGraw-Hill Chapter 6 test. So Wednesday, tomorrow, you're taking a 22 question test. And then on Friday, you are taking the other one, the 41 question test. So there's 2 tests, and then we're going to move on to my favorite topic, which are bones. Fortunately, I can't pass out bones every day like I normally do as I go through all the different bone stuff, but you will need that chicken bone. So those of you that still have stripped a chicken of all of its tissues and have just a bone are going to need that for our next lab, okay, by next week. All right, in fact, we might get it all set up and ready for winter break, because the longer it sits in solution, the better our results will be. If we just let it go for 2 weeks. All right, let's see. So today, like I said, we're going to go live about burns, and then we're going to do a review. And I've been reading your guys' Google Forms from last week, which were very interesting, about what you want to know about in terms of your own body. And 2 were directly relevant so far to this chapter, which is why chapped lips and why dandruff. So I've been looking up different video clips and things about each of those different topics, and you'll see them posted under no due dates on Edpuzzle. We're going to watch a 3-minute one about chapped lips today. And you're choosing. So you're choosing whatever Edpuzzle topic you are still struggling with. So if it's hair or burns, those are the 2 we probably covered the least before your test. And then choose one tomorrow, or no, sorry, you guys are on Tuesday. So you had one yesterday and have one tonight. I think you have how many total then? Oh, and then one on the dermatologist. The dermatologist one's pretty good, but the one thing I really wanted her to talk about that she doesn't in this first clip is the pay. She talks about how many years it takes to become a dermatologist, which I don't want it to be discouraging for those of you that are interested in that career, because it is a career that has an average of $300,000 salary. So anyways, that's the one piece of the career that's not really talked about much by her. Can you boil the bone? You can. I don't think it won't work as well, because I've left bones out to dry and I've boiled them and then compared them to what we're going to do to them. But you definitely, it can be like a control that you share with your group, because each person in your team is going to do something different. And at least one of you are going to do it how the lab was originally written. I always change all of our labs to more open-ended labs. All right, so we're going to go live, unless there's some questions about the week at a glance. I'm going to click off of this real quick and make sure. I just want to check that your Google form is actually loaded on the classroom site under classwork. Because I know my freshmen let me know that I had forgotten it on theirs. So it says you have 3 Edpuzzles. Name that skin condition for review and practice. Optional practice, so these are all extra credit. Remember that these expire at the free version, so you only have like a week and a half to 2 weeks once I post them to do them. So right now, these are available for extra test points. Your McGraw-Hill work is those 2 tests, so the one tomorrow and then the one Friday. Optional is this web worksheet about skin conditions. So when you open this, all you do is make a copy, and I gave you pictures, and you just go and find out what you think the name of it is, the symptoms and characteristics, potential treatments, and then causes or contagion, meaning is it a virus, is it a bacteria, is it a fungus, is it just an allergic response, an overactive immune system, or do they not know? Some of them they're still trying to figure out, but they're still very common. And all I'm looking for is for you to cite your sources with a link on here though, when you're doing these, especially if you're just copying and pasting into these boxes. And the stuff at the top, Healthline, WebMD, NIH, National Institutes of Health, all of these are just links to help you diagnose them. And there's more than one right answer because all I'm giving you is a picture, and usually you would have a patient case history as well that would go with this. So there can be more than one right answer, as long as you defend your answer. Some of them are pretty obvious, though, in terms of there's only a couple things that look like that. So that's the extra homework and daily work points. Your Nearpod review is right there. You sign in, and you're going to do this today, but it's going to be teacher paced. When you sign into this one, it's student paced. So you just set a timer for 30 minutes and work your way through it again. And then you go live is what we're doing right now. So it'll be done today. And I did remember in your class. Okay, so your Google Daily attendance is there. All right, so let's get started on burns by osmosis. And yours is this one on the right, but I think I've already got it loaded. Yes, I already see 8 of you there.
We're gonna be pirates for a while.
That's great. All right, so I see Emily, Eli, Raquel, Annabella, Austin, Elsie, Emma, Philip, Grace, Madeline, Megan, Nusa, Rain, Paige, and Tommy. Tommy, did you get my email? We're not going to repeat the conversation I sent to you, but I was just curious if you saw that I really do read your Google Forms. No? Yes? Okay. All right, I have 21 of you. I should have 23 of you. So I'm up 22. I need one more person. Then we will get started. Pay particular attention to how they determine first, second versus third degree. So what determines one rating versus another, and then what the rule of nines is about. Those are both learning targets for this chapter. And it's the last one for this chapter. Yes, there will be options of makeup points after test. Plus you guys have those quizzes and Kahoots you can do. Every time I post those go into your assessment grade as well. But I also play Kahoots quizzes live during conference times, or you can do whiteboard work. There are multiple ways. I'm pushing just now, as in today, talking to the counselors, trying to get students to start using that conference period, because usually kids are in my room making up test points all the time. And that's just not happening right now in remote learning. And so I will be sending direct invitations to certain students now in the future that you need to come in and start bringing your grade up, because there's no reason not to maintain an A or B in this class all the time, because you can make up anything. I was just answering Philip's question. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
Try it free today.
So,
A burn is the damage that happens after something really hot, like a fire, hot water or steam, or even a hot object comes into contact with skin. But burn injuries can also be caused by extreme cold, electricity, some chemicals like strong acids, or radiation, like from the sun or medical treatments.
all right, true or false? Heat is the only thing that can cause a burn to a skin. Cause a burn to skin. 19 of you so far. Raquel, I'll answer you in just a second. Let me get this going again.
Ultimately, burns cause damage and inflammation of the skin. The skin plays an important role in protecting underlying muscles, bones, ligaments, and internal organs, forming a barrier to infectious pathogens and preventing water loss from the body. Now, the skin is divided into 3 layers: the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. The epidermis forms the thin outermost layer of skin, and it's made up of several layers of keratinocytes, which make and secrete glycolipids, which help to prevent water from easily seeping into and out of the body.
Right, which layer of the skin makes you more waterproof? And one of the things we haven't talked much about that's on your interactive test is this little, what I think looks like an onion on this picture to the left. It's got like layers. Those are Pacinian corpuscles or lamina, which are just basically layers and layers of plasma membrane so that it will kind of deform and push a receptor to send an action potential or a nerve impulse, differently than these ones that have what are considered free nerve endings. It's the yellow one, which is usually for light touch and pain. So there's all these different sensory nerves up inside your skin as well that we're going to practice labeling after this video.
Underneath the epidermis is the thicker dermis layer that contains the nerves and blood vessels. But the dermis is divided into two layers, a thin papillary layer just below the epidermis and a deeper reticular layer. The papillary layer contains fibroblasts, which produce a connective tissue protein called collagen. The fibroblasts are arranged in finger-like projections called papillae, each of which contains blood vessels and nerve endings. Nerve endings found in this layer sense pain and fine touch, which allows you to feel something like a feather touching your arm. The reticular layer of the dermis.
Right, so which layer has pain receptors? Let's see, 19 of you, 20. Oh, it's everybody. So dermis. Epidermis is constantly shed. So anything in the epidermis, like a tattoo, if anything only went into the epidermis, you'd never keep it. It would just be gone.
The layer of the dermis is even thicker than the papillary layer. The collagen in the reticular layer is packed very tightly together, making it excellent tissue support. In addition, fibroblasts in the reticular layer secrete elastin, which is a stretchy protein that gives skin its flexibility. The reticular layer also contains the skin's accessory structures like oil and sweat glands, hair follicles, lymphatic vessels, and nerves, and all of the blood vessels that serve these tissues. A type of nerve ending found here detects pressure or vibration, which allows you to feel someone grabbing your arm. Finally, just below the reticular layer is the hypodermis. It's made of fat and connective tissue that insulates and pads the deeper tissue and anchors the skin to the underlying muscle. When the skin is burned, it damages cells and the proteins within them, and the number of skin layers affected determines the burn degree. So in first-degree burns, also called superficial burns, the burn only affects the epidermis. In second-degree burns, the burn affects the epidermis and the dermis. If only the papillary layer is burned, it's considered a second-degree superficial partial thickness burn. But if the burn reaches the deeper reticular layer but doesn't extend through the entire layer, then it's considered a second-degree deep partial thickness burn. In third-degree burns, also called full-thickness burns, the entire epidermis and dermis are affected. And finally, fourth-degree burns extend into the hypodermis.
Okay, which level of burn goes through the entire epidermis and the entire dermis? All right, 5, 4, I need one more of you. 2 and 1. There we go. Yes, third degree. Good.
When a skin layer is affected, it means that the skin can't function effectively. And common complications are infections, especially from Pseudomonas aeruginosa, and water loss through the damaged skin. As burns heal, macrophages move into the tissue to remove dead cells, and fibroblasts create new collagen to heal the damaged skin. The more extensive the area with new collagen, the more extensive the scar. So, scars are common in second-degree deep partial thickness burns and third and fourth degree burns.
Right. What type of burns are unlikely to scar? I think they say unlikely because sometimes they just don't know. I remember a cat ran over my oldest son's face one time, and they're like, "Oh, that he'll be fine. It won't scar. It didn't go very deep." And he's had it ever since. Big scar right there. And then my daughter, who when she was 2, went up to a picnic table where somebody was perking coffee and camping. And I don't know if you know about perked coffee, but it is super hot. And she reached up and then dumped it on her chest, and that didn't scar at all. I mean, we had to take her to the ER. And, it was awful. And so I think just depends on the part that gets burnt and the characteristics of your skin individually. So these are in general.
Symptoms of a burn depend on the degree of the burn. In first degree, the affected area becomes red, dry, and painful. These areas also tend to blanch, turning white as blood flow is restricted with compression. Second degree superficial partial thickness burns can be red with clear blisters, wet as if they're weeping, and are even more painful than first degree burns, but still blanch. A second degree deep partial thickness burn may vary in color from yellow or white to red, have blisters, and can be wet or dry. Because of damage to blood vessels and nerve endings, burns of this degree may not blanch, and there may only be pain due to pressure because of nerve damage.
So blanching is something we're going to talk about again in symptoms of meningitis. So imagine you have these little tiny capillaries and blood vessels, right? And you're pushing on them. So if you push on them and the blood vessel is still there, the blood will go out of them temporarily and it'll turn white. Then as soon as you release the pressure, it'll come back into the blood vessel. If you are pushing, like in a rash for meningitis, it's called a tumbler test. So a tumbler is like a glass cup, and they're saying if I push on it and that red rash does not do anything, that means those blood vessels have burst. They are no longer there. They are no longer able to blanch. And so that is one of the kind of symptoms or ways you can look at what's going on under the skin, is this blanching.
A third degree burn can appear waxy white to leathery gray or black, and dry. Again, blanching doesn't occur and the pain may only feel like deep pressure. In other words, they can be relatively painless. Additionally, the elastin damage causes the burn to be stiff or inelastic. Finally, fourth degree burns are charred black, dry, have pain only from deep pressure, but can be painless from complete destruction of nerve endings, and have patches of dead skin. Having said that, the margins of all burns often have lots of damaged nerve endings, and that can be painful. The diagnosis of a burn is often based on the burn's appearance and the amount or type of pain. But sometimes tissue biopsies are obtained to accurately determine which layers are affected. In adults, the severity of burns is calculated using the rule of nines. The rule of nines evaluates several distinct sections of the body's total surface area for the presence and degree of burns. 11 of the sections each make up 9% of the body's surface area and are the head, right arm, left arm, chest, abdomen, upper back, lower back, the front of the left leg, and the back of the left leg, and the same for the right leg. A final section, the groin, accounts for the missing 1% of the body's surface area. The treatment for a burn.
Right, surface area of the body is broken up into what percent for each section? In the older textbook, you guys have the newest textbook, had the rule of palms, which was you would estimate how many palm prints the area that got burnt took up, and each palm was considered 1%. Hopefully you can kind of instantly think that my palm is going to be a much bigger area than like Noose's palm, right? So that's going to give you big differences between how one person might rate a burn and another person just by the size of their palm. So they have the rule of 9s now. All right, I see all of you.
Treatment for a burn is determined by what caused the burn, the rule of 9s, and the location of the burns in the body. In general, immediate treatment typically includes preventing further burning, like flushing the burn with cool but not ice-cold running water. After that, it's important to manage pain with medication. Minor burns, like first and second degree superficial thickness burns, can heal on their own over a few days or weeks by keeping them bandaged and clean with soap and water. Sometimes lotions to prevent drying or topical antibiotics can be used. If blisters form, it's best to leave them alone because the intact skin helps to prevent infections. For more serious burns like electrical and chemical burns, or second or third degree burns in sensitive areas like the face, hands, and genitalia, hospitalization in specialized burn centers is often needed. In those situations, it's important to replenish lost fluids and electrolytes, and to prevent infections with antibiotics.
All right, why would we leave blisters alone? So people love to break their blisters and pop pimples, but every time you do that, you tore off your first line of defense. We have an entire microbiome all over our body, and normally it's supposed to be there. It's supposed to actually protect you and help you. But if you are tearing off your first layer of protection, then you're going to end up with some problems. And 2 more of you. 1 more. 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, there we go. Yes, prevents infection.
Antibiotics. Surgical procedures like skin grafting, excision of dead skin, or amputation, especially in 3rd or 4th degree burns, may also be needed. So, to recap, a burn is injury, protein denaturation, and cellular damage that occurs in the skin caused by extreme heat or cold, electricity, some chemicals, or radiation. The degree of burn is determined by whether the epidermis, dermis, or hypodermis are affected, and each degree has specific symptoms. The rule of 9s, the cause of the burn, and location of the burn can help determine treatments. In general, treatments include minimizing the initial burn and pain management.
What could cause a burn? And that is out of order. All right, need about 3 more of you.
Pain management. Minor burns don't typically require treatment beyond keeping the area clean, moist, and bandaged. But severe burns may require more extensive medical intervention, particularly hospitalization at specialized burn centers to prevent infections and dehydration.
Thanks for watching. If you're interested in a deeper dive on this topic,
Right. So one of the topics we aren't going to go deeper into that I think is really interesting on this is skin grafting, and kind of how they take and put balloons and different things that they blow up underneath your skin to grow extra skin so they can then kind of surgically take that off and replace the skin that you damaged. And also the use of maggots and leeches nowadays, so to get rid of that charred tissue, and eats all the dead tissue, naturally knows what's dead, and then also keeps the blood flowing and active so that when you're trying to repair it and put new tissue on it, you don't have as much scarring and problems with the tissue. I think that stuff is interesting. We are going to now get a record of your knowledge on this whole chapter for your test. So this is going to be instructor paste. And I will also share the link as soon as I find where my stuff went. There it is. Chat box disappeared. So here's your link. And then we'll practice. Becca, can I share that? That's interesting. So Becca has experience with skin grafts. She's had, she said 2 balloons used, and they were removed the skin from the backs of the ears and out on the face. Yeah, I've seen it done. I've seen surgeries. I mean, not personally, but I've seen it done on the YouTube stuff that I watch, so that they can kind of make your skin will naturally grow to whatever, if you do it slowly enough, you blow the balloon to. And that way you don't reject it, right? Because it's your own body and you don't have as many problems. Right, I see 17 of you. And I need 23 of you. Get rid of this. Oh. Right, 3 more of you. 2 more of you. We will get started. Oh, open the teacher dashboard so I can see. There we go. All right, so on this one, just rate this number 6, wound healing. We did this video clip about this last week in the dermis, starting with the hemostasis or blood clotting, kind of the steps to how a wound would heal if it happened in the dermis. Right. Somebody's in the negatives. So, okay. I need, I see 15 of 23 of you so far. Show you what I'm seeing. It was a scale of 1 to 4, but you can see that apparently we're going all over the place. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Practice the next one. Body structures, by definition, that have 2 or more different tissues performing a similar function are called this, and this is the largest in the body by weight. And then the 3 accessory structures that are part of the system we're studying that are also on this test that we're going to practice today. Labeling are these things. So I can see Madeline, Rain, Grace, Joseph, Emily, Eli, April, Becca, Austin, Elsie, Brianna, Nusa, Philip, Annabella, Neil, Emma, Grace, Raquel, Grace. Wait, do I have 2 Graces? I do. Grace is on here twice. I thought I was going crazy. I don't remember 2 Graces. All right, and then now I see Megan and Vanessa. There are 2 of you I don't see yet. I mean, that have not responded yet. If you have technical difficulties or something, let me know, and then you can do it in the chat box. I will show you guys what it should look like. So yes, the term is organs, and we are looking at the hair, nails, and glands. Our largest organ by weight is the skin. You guys can see some of the answers here. So this is anonymous, unless I made it not anonymous, but I'm going to keep it anonymous. Just want to know how we're doing on these topics and have a record of everybody's. There we go. Now we have everybody. All right, let's move on. All right, the layers of the skin. So there's 2 layers, a thin outer layer made up of stratified squamous epithelium and a thicker inner layer that's connective tissue with blood vessels and nerves. What are those 2 layers called? And then the layer that's below it that's made up of adipose tissue that binds it to the muscle is called this term. And it says that I didn't give you anything to fill in, so we'll move on. Epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. All right, I redid some of these because I wanted us to practice the ones that I found a little more challenging on your test. So where is it? Oh yeah, find and flag the hair bulge. See if you, what was the, yesterday 5th period was also using the picture on the right. So on either picture, it makes more, like you can see it in the real hair a little bit easier, I think, than you can in the animated version of the hair. And I'll show you guys what it looks like right now. We're slowly getting there. There we go. Yeah, and I just figured out today that I can make these smaller and I can make them multiple colors and different shapes. So I'll be using this to practice finding and labeling, especially when we get to all the bone markings and things like that. So that we can make sure, because normally I go around the room and you touch the actual bone markings and find them in the skulls and things. So this will be the only way we can really make sure that you guys know what I'm talking about and know how to identify them, is these little flags and things. All right, what about hair follicle? So the way I remember this is, again, from forensic science, and if someone's hair is pulled out, you can actually see the white tissue attached. That was the follicle. So that follicle is kind of around the bottom of that hair, and it comes out if the hair isn't naturally falling out during its cycle. So I'll show you guys on this one. So there's layers of cells kind of lining that outside tissue is what you want to find. And I'm looking for you guys to be labeling right here where this kind of tissue is. I see, I need 2 more of you. 1 more. Okay. All right, find and flag the lamellated corpuscle, also called the Pacinian corpuscle. So this is the one that's for deep touch. To me, it looks like an onion because it's got these different layers. It's yellow in this picture. Nerves are always represented as yellow. Some of you are finding it good. I see 19 of you. So we want to put that flag on one of these little structures here. Oh, there's some over here too. Some over here. It does kind of look like something like bladderwort. Right. Characteristics of your epidermis versus your dermis. Name 3 characteristic, or sorry, this is a multiple choice. Which of these is not a characteristic? So this is that tricky one that's making sure you're paying attention to the description of the tissue part of this. And what kind of tissue makes up an epidermis versus the dermis. Okay, this is getting better this time. right, so let me show you this. So remember that it's, like I said, this is a tricky one. It's stratified squamous or squamous epithelial tissue. So the one that's not correct is this one that says it's connective tissue, because that is our dermis. It is avascular, it doesn't have blood, and it is constantly undergoing mitosis and making new cells, and it is stratified squamous epithelial tissue. So the answer on this one of the which one is not correct is that top one. Okay. The layers of just the epidermis, which is the really thin layer, has cells that change kind of shape as they die and flatten and fill with keratin. What are those cellular layers called? What are their names? See what I'm seeing so far. So if you are struggling with these still, make sure that you are going to, on on-demand day, that you're going back and doing this with the student paste so that you can start looking these up and getting them figured out. So it was basale, basale, spinosum, granulosum, corneum, and lucidum. Right. Move on. Highlight or paint the area of the basement membrane. So this diagram is also an interactive test. Where is the basement membrane? Good, I can see Neil painting. Oh, this is cool. I can actually see everybody this time. It does give me a separate picture for each one of you and what you're painting. I like that. Oh, some of you are changing colors. So some of you have reds, blues, not just black. That's the first. I don't know why it's never done it till today. And yellow. Okay. Good. It looks like we know where that basement membrane is. I have 17, 18 of you. I did check out after using this last week. It does give me this big giant spreadsheet of every single thing you do. And I can real quickly look and see if it's very similar or if it's a topic that we're not doing well on. I have one more of you. I have not seen an answer from everybody else that's on here. All right. On. These are special cells that produce a pigment. That pigment gives you a brownish black color. There are different varieties of this gene that aren't as common that will give you things that are reddish yellow. What is the name of this pigment or this cell? Good. I have 18 to 23 of you. 19. All but 2 of you. I'll show you guys real quick the responses. So melanocytes is correct, or melanin is the name of the pigment. Cyte is the name of the cell, and it makes melanin, so it's called a melanocyte. All right. Then there's this diagram. So again, I flagged 2 of the structures that I thought were harder than the others. I know it says flag, but apparently I gave you a dot. The Golgi apparatus. So the Golgi apparatus is something you did in biology. They look like flattened pancakes. And they help distribute proteins that are being produced, which makes sense because this cell, its whole job is to make melanin, and then it actually gives it to the keratinocytes here and protects them. So the melanin actually is secreted and moves into the cell to protect the nucleus of all the keratinocytes. Right, I see 19 of 23 of you have found the Golgi apparatus. Go ahead and keep going. What about, I just thought this one was strange looking nucleus. We're going to look at several types of strange looking cells. But it's pretty obvious the keratinocytes nucleus are blue here. I just wanted to point out that they keep the same color coding for you, but this is one odd looking nucleus. All right, I see 18 of 23 of you. I'm gonna move on. Oh, all but one of you. All right. So the answer is already on there, so that's why I skipped that one. Name these two conditions. So this appearance of blue around the mouth and in the fingers when hemoglobin does not have oxygen attached, then the color of the blood as it comes through the skin gives it more of a bluish hue instead of this pink reddish hue. And this is the condition where you have kind of the yellowing of the white of the eye, the sclera, and other parts of the skin. All right, so look, jaundice and cyanosis, that is correct. I think pallor is more like just lack of color, like whiteness, but I might be wrong. Somebody could Google that. My personal assistant, that's a good job. Google pallor. All right. And there's just some more examples of it on the lips and a baby, which is where you commonly hear about jaundice. All right, dermis. These are the finger-like projections that go up towards the dermis. They form when you are in utero and touching the inside womb of your mother. And the pressure actually pushes during formation, so everyone gets slightly different, unique ones of these from this, how it's laid down and made. And then there's two fibers in the skin, one that gives you strength and softness, and we're going to talk about it again with bones as well, and one that gives you stretchiness. So the names of those two fibers. I see 19 or 23 of you. That's good. We're running out of time, so we're going to end it there, and I want to make sure we look at why we get chapped lips. So I'm going to end this, and plus this is your homework or your daily on-demand work is just to do parts of this that we haven't done, or if you feel like you need to review, if you didn't know it to begin with, then go do the ones that we didn't finish. I'm just checking what day it is. I'm naming what we just did for the spreadsheet. All right, so all you have to do is go live, but there's no embedded questions. I just want you listening. We are going to go live about why chapped lips happen. Very slow. Oh, there it is. Kind of want to play, I think we're going to play the different one than the one I did fifth period. All right, it should be available. I'm going to reshare. It is, I think, only 3 minutes long. let's go ahead and get started so we can watch at least most of it. Yeah, it's 3 minutes.
Guys, do your lips always get chapped? Yeah, that might be your fault. Hey everyone, Lisette here for D News. Chapped lips are terrible. They're that uncomfortable dry sensation on your lips, flaky, cracky skin, and in some of the worst cases, even bleeding. They're more common in certain seasons or climates. But what causes your lips to chap in the first place? To start, the skin on your lips is much more sensitive than the skin on the rest of your body. Your lip structure is just different. While it is made up of the epidermis and dermis like the rest of your skin, the outermost layer of the epidermis, the stratum corneum, is much thinner on your lips. So thin that it allows more visibility into our blood vessels, giving our lips that reddish color. What's more, lips don't have sweat glands to provide moisture or hair to provide protection from the sun. This helps explain why lips get more chapped in the cold winter months or after catching some rays on a hot sandy beach. The excess wind, lack of moisture in the air, and UV rays can cause your lips to lose moisture, burn, and yeah, they end up being chapped. Sort of like a sunburn on your lips. But it isn't always the weather's fault. Sometimes you end up doing it to yourself. Sorry. Have you ever woken up with super dry lips, especially when you're congested? Well, this could be because you were breathing through your mouth, removing the moisture from your lips. And perhaps even worse is the act of licking your lips excessively. It may sound counterintuitive, but as the saliva evaporates from your lips, it sucks away heat and moisture with it, leaving your lips potentially drier than before you lick them. Many products we use and foods we eat can also be the culprits. These range from irritating cosmetics to toothpaste, medications, figs, food colorings, and wait for it, even lip balm. While some lip balms may be helpful, others can make chapped lips worse. I know, this one really got me too. But the problem is that ingredients in some lip balms like propyl gallate or phenylsalicylate can be skin irritants. And another, salicylic acid, can cause skin to slough off more easily. Oh, one super common lip balm ingredient that you may love is menthol. It tastes and smells delicious, but it's also an alcohol and can dry out your lips. So what can you do to restore moisture to your dry, chapped lips? Well, staying hydrated, breathing through your nose, and using a humidifier during dry months definitely helps. Not to mention avoiding licking your lips, staying away from harmful products, and reducing sun and wind exposure. But if you've just gotta have your lip balm fix, the Mayo Clinic says to try some good old petroleum jelly. But the trick here, and with anything you use for your chapped lips, is to make sure that it works for you. We all have different allergies, sensitivities, and reactions to different products, so what may work for your pout may not work for someone else's. This is a pretty common problem for people in the winter, but different seasons will affect our bodies in surprising ways. For example, did you know that winter can alter your genetics? Julia has a scoop in this video.
All right. I am out of time. So if you guys have any questions about the week at a glance or the test, let me know. I will hang out and work with you on it. Otherwise, I will see you in a couple days. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Don't forget to stop filming
Oh, thank you.
and have a nice day.
You too.